All right, so we are here with Jason Mayhem Miller, an MMA legend. I have no idea how the hell this happened, but here we are. How's it going, Mayhem?
Surf the internet, bro. That's right, Scott. Let's get right into it, baby.
Hell yeah, man. So how have you been? What have you been up to since all the stuff's gone down?
Yeah, I like this broad question right there, dude. I am doing pretty awesome. Like I'm like manifesting some crazy stuff in my life. All these positive things keep happening. I feel like you get out of the world what you put in, and I'm putting in so much positivity, and I'm doing so much work with the younger guys who are trying to get into mixed martial arts, spreading my knowledge and helping to further the careers of the guys who are, working towards a big goal and have huge ambitions. That for some reason, all this positivity is washing back on me. And I just feel real blessed. I know that's like a generic kind of thing that people say all the time, but I really do. I feel like my life's not easy. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I have the power, like the force of this coming from within me to keep getting up every day and working hard, and it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, man. I'm happy to hear that. Everybody wants to see you do well, and it's good that you're doing well. Are you
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing about that is that I kind of went dark for a few years there, where I didn't feel like anyone was wishing me well. So instead of taking the high ground, like taking the high road and just ignoring the negative people and just pushing on through, I let that negativity kind of brew within me, and I went back negative, and I kept getting negative stuff back. So I don't know. It's kind of like new agey to be talking about manifesting and like, putting out positive and getting back positive. But I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. The fact that I'm doing positive stuff and getting back positive things, and even, thanks for having me on the show. This is another manifestation of that, where good things are happening to somebody who's genuinely trying to do good in the world.
Oh yeah, man. No, I get what you're saying because everybody's got a past. I used to mess around in a bunch of different ways, and I didn't understand why my life was not going the way I wanted. But when I started kind of buckling down and getting serious about the right stuff, that's when everything changed for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, man. Good experience. You got to go through those bad things in order to get to something good. I really believe that. There's no way to live. I mean, some people are lucky enough to just coast into victory all the time and just be successful and never. But I say that, but you don't know the details of the story. Like a lot of people may seem to just be always living high on the hog constantly and never having a you know bad moment, but this is the internet. We don't broadcast our bad moments usually. I mean, I did for many years. Like I kept broadcasting it, but in my demented mind, I thought that I was having a good time, and that's the reality is much different.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So you said you're helping fighters out. Do you own a gym, or do you work with a gym, or?
I do not own a gym because my years of insanity, I never like buckled down and like invested the money in that. So now I'm like coaching at four different gyms around the Los Angeles area, and I work with specific fighters and help out a lot of guys. But no, I don't own a gym specifically, but I work with a lot of guys out of Fight Science. There's an Unbreakable gym. There's a SFC up in Sunland Valley Fight Club, and then there's and I just started working with some guys out of KD MMA, a really fantastic gym there in Glendale.
That's pretty sick. It's good you got horizons open like that. Have you ever thought of opening your own place at some point?
Well, now as I'm to this age and in this place in my life where I'm very stable, I can see that being a possibility. But I'm also in this weird entertainment space where I do podcasts all the time and do a lot of other things. So that's not in my immediate future. If the opportunity presents itself in the next couple of years, I'll do that. It would be nice to have a decentralized home base for me to spread that knowledge. But I really kind of like fight traffic a little bit. I kind of like seeing different looks and different, working with different head coaches to bring the guys' levels up. I never really thought about it until this moment, actually. But there's something kind of, because of my personality the way it is, where I'm kind of ADD, where I like new stuff. I like novel entertainment. I like new experiences. That's a big part of my life, where I get to see something different all the time. That's kind of what brought me into mixed martial arts, was the fact that, okay, I'm wrestling this afternoon, I'm doing jiu-jitsu in the evening, and then I'm kickboxing at night. So it's like, it spoke to my disjointed brain, where I can learn some new, different things all the time.
That's actually what I was gonna ask next, was what made you decide to get into fighting? You just told me, but was there a moment where you were like, I don't just want to train, I want to actually get in a cage and fight somebody?
Not exactly. There wasn't like a moment. It was just always ingrained in me to kind of fight, from a young age. Yeah, a little bit. That's like the nature nurture thing, like it's a lot of aggression in my nature. It's always been like that since I was a kid, and since in my family is kind of we're very physical people, and then also my neighborhood growing up was pretty rough, and everybody was like fist fighting little kids. We're like always getting into trouble at the bus stop, that sort of thing. So when I found out about the sport and started awakening to the possibility that you could make a living doing something that you already have a lot of experience at, but the long-winded version, it comes down to me not being a soldier. Like, I thought that I was going to be in the Army for the longest time. Like, that was the plan and the goal was, okay, I'm going to be in the Army. But then as the internet proliferated, my dad kind of found out that the military might be an arm of corporate America, and got really disillusioned with it. And on top of that, I had an uncle die of exposure to radiation in the Navy nuclear submarine program. And then coincidentally, after I took the ASVAB, the placement test for military, they offered me the job to be on a nuclear submarine.
Oh, man.
Like, yo, y'all just killed my uncle, so maybe not. Maybe I don't want to do that. So, yeah, that's the long and short of it. On top of that, a buddy in the neighborhood showed me, fights, and showed me Gracie in action tapes, and showed me, back before YouTube, we had these videotapes that were of fights like Valetudo, Brazil, and I don't know, like that's crazy to show a 15-year-old boy who's, super juiced up on the Kumite, on what was that move? Bloodsport?
Yeah.
They're all indoctrinated into this fighting is glory, and being a warrior is a big deal. It's pretty easy to tic-tac-toe your way to mayhem today.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I kind of, for me, it was never back down and Kimbo slice. So I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Those were the days.
Hell yeah. So you fought Sakuraba, you beat him, and that was a really big moment, not just for you, but for MMA as a whole. What was the energy like backstage before the Sakuraba fight? Like, what were you thinking before that?
Man, yeah, no one ever really asked me that. There was a calm over me. Like, this was kind of it was like, all right, this is what I was meant to do. I had watched him for a long time, and I had I kind of wanted to emulate him in a way, and he was a bit older than me. So it was like a passing of the torch, and I kind of felt that the gravity of that moment was like, all right, well, like now I'm gonna Sakuraba. So yeah, it was it was a calm and focused determination, in the backstage area, because there was a different feeling. There's the nerves, but it's also like a realization that like I can do this. Like this is the next step here, And it was it was a solemn moment. It really was. It was quiet. That's the best way to describe it, because there were usually in the locker room a lot of times there's different energies, and that one was like quiet and focused. And I just remember the quiet moments in between warming up and being ready. Being ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, I guess you're not going to go in there thinking, "Nah, I'm about to lose," So there's, I'm sure you were just ready to go.
Well, you never think that,
Yeah.
If you're fighting God, you got to be ready, Like it's one of those. The mentality that a mixed martial arts fighter has to have, that you can defeat anyone that night, and you have to have that strong mindedness, and it's really there's none like it, to be that focused and that determined in that moment.
Yeah, definitely. So which episode of Bully Beatdown was your favorite to shoot?
That's a weird question, because TV magic, you shoot the first part of the episode separately from the fight sequences, the actual, but I guess my favorite part was the fights, because the energy in the room, the fact that we would shoot like 3 or 4 fights a day, back to back to back to back, and I would have to be on, like I have to be like, you saw it was a very high energy show where I just had to like be like constantly making jokes and constantly making like weird, commentary, and I had to, be on. I guess those were the most fun. Those are the most fun days, and it was out there in the state. It was in Utah, so it was like a different vibe. It wasn't a city. It was the city, but it was not the city. It was like you had to really be alive that whole day, and there was some really fun action. It was like really exciting. So yeah, I guess it would be that portion. But then again, I really liked also, like, basically I would do a podcast with each guy. Essentially like this. I would sit across from the guy and just pepper them with questions and say funny comments and make a little, get to know the bullies, like get to know them a bit and kind of understand how they tick. So yeah, overall that whole show was really, it was really fun to make, because there were so many different elements. It was, like I said, like it spoke to my ADD, where I have to do this now. Now I have to change my whole vibe and do this. So yeah, I can't really put a finger on it. Maybe those fight sequences were the most fun to watch, for sure. I mean, most fun to be a part of. And, but yeah, overall, like I really liked making television. It was really cool.
Yeah. You definitely seemed like you enjoyed it. You played the role naturally, for sure. Speaking of sort of, I guess kind of in the same vein, choreography for your walkouts. Did you do that yourself?
Yeah. The ideas were mine. I wanted to keep it simple so the fans could kind of get involved with it, but I also wanted to make sure that it was a really entertaining show. It was like TikTok before TikTok, where I would just, I'd walk down the street in Japan and people would run up to me and do the dance, and that was cool. That was really cool.
Oh yeah, that does sound cool. I mentioned Kimbo Slice and Never Back Down. You said those were the days, right? MMA has obviously changed a bit since then. What do you think about modern MMA compared to like, like your era or, kind of the era in between?
Yeah, I mean, the basics haven't changed, right? You got a head, two arms, two legs. It's like it's the same sport, but it's different. Those guys have the guys today have really, I don't know, up the game. The training methods that my era handed down have now transformed into something huge. Like I got 18-year-old kids who already know how to kickbox, already know how to do jiu-jitsu, already know how to wrestle. So, we're starting off from a higher level. While back in my day, you had to figure out each of these individual components separately from different masters. You go to the Muay Thai guy, but now you have me coaching and, I already did the work with the Muay Thai guy. I already did the work with the Jiu-Jitsu guy. I already did the work. And so now me with the general knowledge of mixed martial arts get to hand down this stuff to the next wave. And that's why you're seeing that. I think the level has gone way up. It always moves and evolves and reforms into something different constantly. But yeah, I gotta say that the kids today are really tough. Like I think a lot of old school guys might try to disagree, but that's just the reality of sports. If you take somebody from the 50s and put them in the sport today, it's not the same game. It's just, that's the beauty of humanity, is that things keep ascending, hopefully.
Oh yeah. And that's something, because I got into the sport. I was like 18, 19. It's been like 10 years now. And, like I'm learning like Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, I wrestled in high school. And then I started noticing after a while there's gyms that have like MMA grappling, MMA striking classes. And then on top of that, like, you're one of the trailblazers of the sport along with a lot of other people. So like, back when you were doing it, there weren't kids looking like, oh, I want to do that. I'm 5 years old. My dad's bringing me somewhere, and I think that's really interesting.
No, I mean, that's not exactly true, because I was 15 and going, I want to do that. I wasn't 5, but the reality of the situation is that there was always somebody that wanted to fight. It's just now it's more mainstream. So with a bigger audience comes, more, more youth that want to. They don't. The kids that might have played football are instead doing mixed martial arts. The kid that might have just wrestled is now wrestling and kickboxing and doing jiu-jitsu. So that's just a product of economics. As the sport has gotten bigger and spread out, I'm what you call an early adopter. Like this, when I first saw it, I was kind of confused by it and I didn't understand it, and was wary of it a little bit. I was like, I don't know. But then as I realized what it was and the potential for it to be the sport of the future, I jumped in with both feet.
That makes sense. So I have kind of a similar question, except it's about jiu-jitsu, because that's also something else I've noticed is when I got into jiu-jitsu, I feel like I feel like it was still very much jiu-jitsu as a part of MMA. Now I feel like obviously there's still jiu-jitsu and MMA, but it's also kind of split off.
Well, jiu-jitsu was always its own thing, but now we're just recreating what has happened in Brazil a long, long time ago. Like they had lucha libre or they had a vale tudo in Brazil, I should say. And vale tudo was, what we call mixed martial arts here in the States. And vale tudo was a thing, and there was a huge rivalry between the Muay Thai gyms down in Brazil and the Jiu-Jitsu gyms. It's a classic striker versus grappler sort of thing. And they sport jiu-jitsu became a big, huge thing for the Brazilians, I guess, in like 70s, 80s. And what we're experiencing now here in 2024 is that jiu-jitsu has become its own arena for a lot of fighters who don't want to get punched in the face. And now we're just recreating that same dynamic where there's a lot of, and then on the flip side, there's a lot of Muay Thai gyms out there. But, overall, yeah, there's a lot of mixed martial artists, but I'm really happy to see jiu-jitsu because, jiu-jitsu is like the gentleman's art, sort of, where you can protect yourself. If you have jiu-jitsu in your back pocket, you can defend yourself on the street 9 out of 10. You really can. So, and you don't have to put as much strain on your body. I mean, it's still strenuous, but you don't have to put as much damage to your body as you would if you went to the MMA gym and sparred MMA all the time. You'll still, retain some really high level benefits from being, a jiu-jitsu man versus doing mixed martial arts. You can. It's a quality martial art for anybody who wants to get into. There's a low threshold. You don't have to take damage to your head.
Yeah, I knew about luta libre, but I never knew that Brazil kind of had the same like dynamic going on in like the 70s or 80s or anything like that.
Yeah, but like, listen, they had like luta libre fights in like the 30s, I think, or 40s. Like they had in Brazil. America, we're late to the game, as far as martial arts go. And partially that's probably because, Bruce Lee died and he died young. So we never got a mixed martial arts competition until, the SEG era of UFC. We never got true mixed martial arts competition until much later because there was not that many, martial arts on the screen is much different than the reality of a fight. And so the appetite for mixed martial arts didn't really develop until somebody was brave enough to, put on this type of competition. And so now that we have it, and now we're here 30 years later, it's really formed into its own thing. And but Brazil, they were way ahead of us on that, mostly because the Gracie family was showcasing their martial art from early in the 20th century.
Yeah, that makes sense. So another fight promotion question. I feel like I already asked one. Did you have like a favorite promotion that you fought for over all the years?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I think maybe Super Brawl. It was like before the UFC really took over everything. One of the biggest competitors was Super Brawl. It was like, they had been doing it since the early 90s, like mixed martial arts out there in, we called it no holds barred back then. And it was a local promotion, but with the international flavor because, Hawaii's halfway to Japan. So they would have like Japanese fighters come out. They would have different, showcase of guys from all over the world. And before the UFC had, such a lion's share of the market, the Super Brawl was like a really heralded title to have, and I won the title way back in the day. And it was very, there's something about going out to a vacation spot and doing hard ass work that was that tickled my sensibilities.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's really cool that you got to fight for so many promotions and things like that,
Yeah, man. I was one of those guys that I guess you might call me a journeyman, where I would just go where the money was and just try to fight whoever, whenever, when, they short notice, long notice, I would give them my all.
Hey, you won a lot of people's respect that way, people still love you to this day.
Awesome.
So, next question is, and you kind of already answered this, so I'll rephrase it a little bit, but
let's say next question. Just, you know what I mean? Hit me.
I got you.
I'm like ready to talk.
I got you, man. I'm new to this interviewing thing. So if you didn't end up fighting, what did you want to do for work? And I know you said the military, but you kind of had second thoughts. Was there like anything else you were thinking of?
Nah, man, I don't know. It's been so long since I like thought of that, It was like, I'm going to the army. I'm going to the army. I'm going to the, oh, wait, I'm fighting. And then there you go, and I don't know. In another planet, I maybe could have been a video game developer because the summer before I started training seriously, I was like making Doom mods. I was nerding out and like making like video game levels, and I was super into it. My dad was all pumped, like, you got to do this. And then, man, something about the glory of fighting really stole that dream away from me. I don't take it back. I think I'd be a very different person if I would have instead went to computer school.
Yeah. What was your favorite game to play?
Dude, Doom was my jam back in the day. I like those first-person shooters. I still play Call of Duty when I get a chance. And, I don't know. I'm super into that. Those old first-person shooters are something else. And, like, the new ones, man, I'm pretty garbage at them, but I love them. Like, I got to admit, everybody's telling me all my friends online are telling me to stream because I'm pretty hilarious when I'm on the voice chat. But I got to level up my game before I start streaming.
Streaming's fun, and plus, like, you got a personality where people won't give a shit if you suck. Like me, I suck. I don't have that kind of personality, so I get no viewers. But like you would do very well. You definitely would.
All right. Well, I mean, what do you do on the stream? Are you supposed to talk about other stuff while you're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People, I don't get it. Are you supposed to, I don't know, I guess give relationship advice, talk about being an alpha male, some weird stuff like that. Like, hey, everybody, break up with your girlfriend right now and get 3 more girlfriends. Like, what the hell? Like, I don't know. I'll come up with something before I get to streaming, though.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, honestly, if you just jump on there and like you just, you don't gotta like eyes glued to the chat or anything like that. But you pay attention to the chat, you see something, you're like, oh yeah, that thing. Yeah. And then you talk about that. That's not a bad way to do it.
I was on the other day with Rampage, and Rampage left pretty quick. I think because I was dragging the team down, bro. But hey, give me up. Hey, give me up. every 5 minutes, I'll be like, hey, give me up. Oh man, but yeah. So me and Rampage is stream. I'm probably gonna stream here eventually. That will be pretty hilarious. I think the fans will love that.
Oh yeah, dude, you got to do that for sure.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good at Call of Duty, I have to admit.
Damn, really?
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's a good teammate, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, there's something funny about that to me. The idea of like you're just playing Call of Duty and you're talking shit and it's a rampage.
Funny is, me and Rampage used to throw LAN parties. We would straight up bring our Xbox to like my apartment complex, like common area, and hook up TVs and have like giant Halo LAN parties with a ton of people. It was crazy, man. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's sick as hell. Shit, man. I could have been playing Halo online with you guys and not even knowing it. That's insane. Oh. Damn. So, how did Bully Beatdown come about?
Well, that was just me dicking around on YouTube, like in the early days, like 2000. I don't know, whenever YouTube came out, 2005 or 6 or whatever. And I was just making funny videos, putting out content, as they call it. And a really great producer, Eric Van Wagenen, found me, and they had this concept all written up. And he said, dude, you're perfect for this. And I kind of read it and was like, nah, I don't know, dude. And he's like, no, you can be funny. And I was like, oh, I can be funny, then now you're talking. And so, they had me in for a reading, and bingo, bango. It was one of those kind of once in a lifetime, like the lightning struck in the right place, where I was like at the crux of comedy and mixed martial arts and in the right spot. And, had a really great run at that. It was really cool. It was like everybody's all jazzed up on it now and wants like a revamp of that. And it's something I'm thinking about for sure. It's something I'm considering that if all the pieces fall into place, that something will happen there. Like I said, I'm doing some hoity-toity manifesting of some great stuff happening to me. So I'm just going to keep on the path that I'm on, where sane, sober, making the right decisions, being a good friend, being a good coach, and just keep this positivity rolling,
Oh yeah, man, that'd be really cool if you got a reboot, like, because you made the show, like, not to kiss ass or anything like that, but like, as much as I like Daniel Cormier as a person, I don't think the show would have been as good if it was like him there.
Personality is a huge thing in this world. I have this, like, people are telling me that it's because I'm genuine or authentic is the word they use. They're like, you're so authentic. All these, like, because I live in Hollywood, basically. I live right here in LA, where there's all these, like, social media types, and people are like, you know what? They really like you because you're authentic. And I'm like, authentic? Like, how do you not be authentic? And then I don't know it until I meet inauthentic people. And then I'm like, oh, I get it. Because they're wearing this mask, and I have like the benefit or detriment of not being able to really hide my feelings, or I can't really fake my way through life. I just have to, like, I guess it's like partially that nature nurture thing, where my father just is a say what he means kind of guy. And maybe that's genetically ingrained in me, or maybe it's just I got so used to just no filter saying what I feel that that's who I am now. I can't fake or put up a front, or if it is, it's very thin, and my true feelings will come out. So I think that was part of the reason for the success of the show. That, and coming up with funny stuff, like, and I can't take all the credit for it. There's producers there that would help me to get to those funny moments. They would guide me in the right way, and even like some of the those parts where I had to like introduce the guys, they would write, but in my voice. They know how I talk, and they would get used to me, and that's a huge thing. That makes TV magic, where somebody is helping you to. It's like a coach. He sees what you're good at, and then can help you make the most out of that. And so I don't think I give those guys enough credit. I can't stand on my own laurels. It's them that they really helped me.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. I think you'd either really like or really hate. Have you ever been to Massachusetts?
But I love Mass. Yeah, I shot a movie, Here Comes the Boom, over there.
Oh yeah, shit.
Boston is crazy, man. That is a badass town. I love that. I love that place. Yeah.
Yeah.
The people are no nonsense most of the time. It's a different world. I really appreciate that place.
Yeah, I was gonna say you would either like it or hate it, because like we're kind of the same way. Anything that's on our minds, we just say it. But sometimes we're a little bit abrasive.
I love that word. Yeah, I get called that all the time.
Really?
Authentic and abrasive.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck them. Who cares, man? Fucking you're you at the end of the day. That's what I tell myself anyway,
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you mentioned Here Comes the Boom. My coach was an extra in that. He was in one or two scenes, because he trained with Mark Delagrati at Sitya Tong. What was that like? Like on set and everything?
It was pretty fantastic. My duties was, I would help Coach Kevin James to get in shape and like look like an authentic fighter. And I think he did a fantastic job. Like, he was one of the, man, he really was like a really great student, to be honest. Like, he's a really good athlete, and he works really hard. He's a funny fat guy, but he like really like took it serious and trained like a fighter for a good long stretch. Lost a lot of weight, and I think the movie came out great. He looked really good. The being on set during like, and back to my responsibilities, it was essentially mapping out all of the fight sequences. To, you know, I had a small part in the movie, but most of my job was to work with a legendary stunt coordinator named Garrett Warren to kind of make some mixed martial arts fights that were realistic, believable, and or funny. And I think we did a great job. Like that was I was really proud of my work there because, you know, day in, day out, I had to take a bunch of slams. I had to like figure out how to, you know, make, you know, the cinematography work for each individual scene. I got like on the job training with one of the best stunt coordinators in the entire business. You know, the guy has legendary career, and the on the set stuff, you know, Salma Hayek was there and Henry Winkler was like my uncle. You know, it's like it was just really cool. You know, the hoity-toity kind of celebrity world intersected with mixed martial arts there for a little while, and I was really proud to be a part of it. It was cool. I never seen anything like that in my life, and I felt honored to be a part of it. It was cool. Yeah, it was badass. Kevin James is a good guy too. He's like really a sweetheart of a dude.
Oh yeah, that's sick. You know, that's I've heard that about Kevin James too. Is that like he's a really hard worker at whatever he does. You know, I've heard Joe Rogan talk about him.
Yeah, he's not that successful because he just like lucked into it. He's a guy who, you know, he worked hard at stand up, got a TV show, worked hard at the TV show, got movies, worked hard at the movies. You know, there's like, I guess with anything in life, success and hard work, being a good person, they all intersect. And, you know, and I can say this as somebody who's like gone and let like substance get away with me, where I wasn't really being a good person because I wasn't being good to myself, and my life reflected that. And now that I'm in that good place and seeing all the positive things that come out and good things continue to happen, it makes sense. Now it makes sense to me why my life was going poorly for a stretch and I couldn't understand it. And now that I'm here in a good place, it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense that if you're good to yourself, good to others, and you're good, you know, and you work really hard and you get a little lucky, then things work, you know, things really good go good for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I've ended up in a really good spot myself, you know, not to make it all about me, of course, but you know, I ended up in a very good spot myself, and I think that's really just what it is at the end of the day. You know, I just happened to, you know, make the right choices and stuff like that, and then I also got very lucky, you know. I have a couple of questions from viewers. One of them was, did you ever side with one of the bullies? Were you?
No, not exactly, but I kind of there was a couple that I kind of liked. Like I had to respect the big Russian bully, right? He figured out the game in the first season. He knew that if he could just stall, he could make all the money, and I kind of respected that. And he was, you know, some of the people that I become friends with, I butt heads with when I first meet him. And bro, I wanted to fight that guy the first time I met him, you know? Like I was like, oh man. But then later on, I respected the fact that he had figured out the game. You know, he like went, oh, let me just stall and I make all the money. And that's what he did. Even though it made for kind of a crappy fight, you know, I was like, oh, well, somebody has to win, and he won. You know, he won the game. And then there was another guy, like in the last season, who, I mean, this guy was a pro wrestler, basically. He said the funniest stuff in the interviews. I don't remember his name, but he said the funniest stuff in the interviews. He did the best, like he did a great fight. Like he got his ass kicked, but he went out swinging. He went for it. And I gave some respect for him. And also there was the hockey bully who got head kick knocked out, which was totally against my rules. Like I told the fighters, do not kick the dudes in the heads. They're civilians. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Keep it below the neck. And he got knocked out, but he said, nah, that's a knockout. And he went ahead and gave the money up to the victim. So overall, as like a pro fighter, you kind of have to give respect to anybody who's brave enough to go in there against somebody. So in a way, I kind of like all the bullies. So there's no show without those bullies, and there was no, it wouldn't have been half as entertaining if it was just a regular fight show, So yeah, that was a great experiment, if you'll call it that. It was really cool.
Oh yeah. Who landed the head kick on the bully though? Which fighter was that?
That was the machine gun, I think we called him. What was his real name? Tommy Gunn. I don't know. You're gonna up and edit it in, because I should have done some research for this. I would have known you would ask all these questions, but I want to call him Tommy Gunn. I think that was his nickname or something. But yeah, I was not expecting that. He head kicked that guy to the stratosphere.
Damn, that's insane. Yeah, I'll look that up for sure. So somebody told me to ask about the Darce choke story. I don't know if that sounds familiar.
Well, they could be asking a number of things, like, I'm credited for naming the Darce choke because to New York to train, to help a guy train for a UFC title fight. And this guy, Joe Diarcy, a fantastic jiu-jitsu guy from Renzo Gracie's jiu-jitsu, he kept catching me in this weird choke that I had not seen it. And apparently it already had its name, called the Bravo choke. But I was like, dude, that's a Darce. That's a Darce choke. And when I got back to Vegas, where I trained with Mark Lehman, me and Mark Lehman started calling it the Darce. And then we had so many variations that we would name everything, like, oh, this is the short arm Darce. This is the daddy Darce. This is, so it just took off from there. So yeah, I got credit for that, but it was me and Mark Lehman really that started calling it the Darce, because, Bravo, that didn't really roll off the tongue like Darce does.
Yeah, I had no idea about that. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny certain chokes and submissions get names, like the Von Flu. I was using that for years.
I know, yeah, and I think, wasn't Von Flu the victim of that choke? I think that's the etymology of it. I could be wrong.
Was he?
I think, yeah, maybe Von Flu lost to that choke, and we all started calling it that. But all right, I could be getting that backwards. But yeah, there's I got to take my hat off to Eddie Bravo, because we kind of like derided him for coming up with all these different names for these different positions. And we're like, dude, you don't really need a name for that. But it's very helpful when you're just chatting about martial arts to be able to name every banal position, every little silly, subset of each individual position. It's definitely helpful. Like, it's helpful because you can communicate with your words. I come from the old school on the mat, where you just show me. Like, instead of being able to chat it all out, you have to show somebody. But it's very helpful to be able to name each individual position and each move and each transition. That really helps. I think he's done a lot for the sport in that respect.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Eddie, that was something weird to me back in the day. Was the 10th planet versus other jujitsu guys thing. Were you ever were you ever embroiled in any of that?
Well, I mean, me and Mark Lehman would argue with Eddie Bravo about their methodology, especially concerning mixed martial arts, because with mixed martial arts, being on your back is a big, big no-no. I think that it really doesn't help you. And on top of that, you got guys that could get all greased up, or you get guys that posture up all the time, and it's hard to do a lot of those classic, mission control type positions. I know that from my fight with George St. Pierre, where I was choking everybody with triangles, but the guy is slimy and it's hard to hold on to him. It's super hard. It's something you don't want to keep going to your back. So as my career progressed, I always try to be on top, always try to, even if you have to turn your back for a second, which is, again, that's like a big no-no in jiu-jitsu, turning your back. But even if you have to turn your back for a moment to progress the position so you're not on the bottom all the time, rallied against it. But now to see sport jiu-jitsu, like we were talking about, be such a big thing, I think that it's very beneficial, this 10th planet position, because if you're not getting hit, then there's no reason. It's fine. It's fine if you can hang on your back a little longer. It doesn't matter. And and so, my view on things have changed, especially since sport jiu-jitsu is a bigger thing, and you don't have to rely on escaping from positions where you're going to get hit. It's a different climate now. It's a different time. And so I've changed my position on being a MMA purist. I think that there's room in this martial arts world for pure jiu-jitsu.
That makes sense. So you mentioned GSP, and for a second I remembered just how around you've made it, and it made me think of something else. The Strike Force Brawl. Did you ever have you talked to Jake Shields or any of those guys since then?
Yeah. Shields, I talked to him in passing one time, because his father was on the set of Bully Beatdown, and when his dad went, I, gave him a, heartfelt hug, because that's got to be difficult to go through. And, and I even talked to Nick and Nate one time, when a drunken stupor at the CJ Saddle Ranch. I kind of, kind of squashed the beef a little bit. But, overall, they're doing their thing. I'm doing my thing. And I'm not besties with them. I know the MMA world is pretty small, and I'm sure we'll run into each other once again. But, yeah, not for the most part, no.
Yeah. Did anybody I've seen the brawl, but it's been years since I watched it. Did you have any friends in the middle of that, or?
I'm a Miller, you know what I mean? I'll stand alone. I ain't afraid. There's kind of something wrong with me where I do not get afraid of things. So yeah, it's been a detriment in my life before, that's for sure. But I wasn't worried about nothing.
I get that. I get afraid of stuff, but I get spiteful about it. Where I'm like, no, I'm not afraid. I'm not a bitch. No. And then I'm just I just go forward.
Yeah, that's that alpha leaking into your ear, bro. Don't be careful. Be careful.
Yeah, no, I've learned lessons. I'll say that. Okay. I got two more questions. So, out of all the fights that you've had, what would you say is probably the most memorable?
Memorable, I don't know. Maybe my first one, when I was a kid. I was like 17 years old fighting a grown man. And it was very strange. I remember how foreign it felt because I had done plenty of wrestling matches, and to like hop into the ropes, it was back in the day when fighting in a ring, and hop through the ropes and the strange arena and like the smell of it and the vibe in the room and the
heat.
That first fight was like, and especially because I was so inexperienced that like I was anxious, I didn't know how to react. It kind of sticks out to me there. Fighting, and the second time I fought Tim Kennedy was another one where it was like I did a wacky entrance, and like the Dallas crowd was like very, like pretty hyped up, and then what? And then Sakuraba, the Sakuraba fight, the fact that the crowd in Japan is so quiet, and I just remember doing the entrance, getting like a nice applause, and then everyone's dead quiet, and I get in the ring, and somebody just screams "Mayhem," the Japanese accent, and those little like. It's not so much one fight as it is like little bits from each fight, come flooding. When you ask that question, they come flooding to me like, oh, remember that? Oh, remember that? And, I'm just honored to have been a mixed martial arts fighter for so long and to have so many great experiences and so many, so many battles. It just I really have respect for all the opponents that I fought and all that time that I spent working on something great like that.
Oh yeah, you mentioned you fought in a ring for your first fight. What do you have a preference, ring or cage?
I kind of like the ring, to be honest, because the ring gives like a different feel where if you run the guy back, he bounces a little bit, and like the takedowns are a bit different. Like I bitch the ring. I think the ring is kind of cool and exciting and gives the fans a better view of the action, better than the fence. And the fence is like kind of a weapon in a way where, there's so many cage fights I went through where you just grind your elbows off for no reason. It's just annoying, Yeah, I mean, I like the ring. I miss the Pride days of like having that crazy ring, but I get it. We're in a different time, and the cage has been the dominant force in mixed martial arts for the last 10 years. So, that's how it is. The evolution.
That makes sense. So I said I had 2 more questions a second ago, but I do have 2 more questions for real this time. Do you have any interest in fighting again? Maybe even going like the bare knuckle boxing route?
I mean, does a fighter ever really retire? But like right now, I'm just getting in shape, getting my guys in shape, and I don't have like any like burning desire. Like I gotta get back in there. I gotta, for me, it's okay. I'm like, I love fighting. I do it every day, regardless of whatever the hell else is going on in my life. But, if a crazy opportunity came up, I wouldn't be completely closed off from it. But at the same time, it's like, I'm really, I'm happy with my life the way it's going, and I'm doing a lot of great things, and my life is pretty fulfilling without that strange glory that I don't really have this burning need to fight.
Nah, I get that. Yeah, it's good. It's good you seem to have found peace.
Lots of money, but
Oh yeah, man. So this last question I have, and then I'll let you go. I don't know if this is a touchy subject, but when you went into the UFC, you got cut, and Dana White had some stuff to say about like something like some kind of thing that happened backstage that caused him to cut you.
Like that, that was funny. Me and Dana never got along really, and I had avoided fighting for him for as long as I could until they took over everything. the thing that he is referring to was that I was rude to a staff lady in the back. That was it. I know. It was like just a nice excuse to be a jerk. And you know, I shouldn't have been rude, to be honest. Looking back, I shouldn't have been rude, but I was in a very different place in my life and I just lost a fight. So I was pretty pissed. And, you know, if you're rude to the bartender, that's your fault.
Yeah, no, I get that, you know. Plus, like, you guys put so much into it, you know. Like there should be at least a little bit of allowance. But I think Dana's one of those guys where he makes up his mind and then he looks for a justification, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, that's his right as the president. You know, he could, that's the power dynamic. You know, when you're an employee or when you're an independent contractor, you got to do what they say. So. You know, that's a reality that I didn't understand in my younger days.
Yeah, I had to learn that too. So, with that said, that's all the questions I had. Did you want to?
Hey, great job, Sky. I'm looking forward to seeing you put this out, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the future, brother. You keep me updated, right? Instagram or you know, Twitter or Facebook. I don't even know. Whatever. I don't have a social media team, so. Reach out, all right?
Sweet. Thank you very much. You want to say anything before we go, or like plug anything?
I mean, you can buy some Manuka honey at samumanuka.com/mayhem. That's the first time that I managed to remember to plug that today. So, but otherwise, you know, hit me up on social media, man. I really appreciate you guys watching and you interviewing me, man. Thank God, man.
Hey, thanks for being here, man.
God bless you, Scott.